Hey Asha, Jasmine here. Hope you're doing well. I am so happy to see your first pass of Mia. Just looking at your notes, I see you said you're struggling with the subsurface scattering for the skin as well as the hair, and you'd like some feedback. It's hard to tell about the subsurface scattering maps for the skin without actually seeing the separate maps. But I totally get what you're saying by seeing your first pass here. I definitely can tell that it is missing that kind of warmth underneath, like the feeling that it is skin. It's such a tricky thing, so I totally get it. One thing is it's not only the maps but also the subsurface scattering shader settings. So I would definitely play with that. What I really like to do when I'm working on anything is I have this thing where I like to like pump things up to the extreme just so I know that it's working, and then I'll like dial it down. And this goes from anything from like bump maps to like subsurface scattering. So bump maps, I'll like just put it to a crazy number so I can actually see the bump, and I'll be like, okay, it's working. And then I'll like scale it way down so it's really subtle. But the same thing with subsurface, because it's like one of those things where I don't know, whenever I'm working in subsurface, I'm always a little insecure in the beginning. Like, is it really set up right? Are the maps working? And so I'll like pump the values a little bit just so I can really see that translucency, like it's coming through. And then I will, once I know it's working in that way, then I can work on dialing it back and then dealing with like whatever maps or settings that I need to. So you can try that if that helps. That always helps me. And about the hair, I'm looking at the hair. It's a really low res render, so it's hard to tell. But I am seeing like, it does seem like there's some kind of coloration that may not be meant to be there. Like I'm seeing like a little light brown there. Check your UVs, and really, if this is UV'd, I believe. So that could be like just drawn in too. Like let's say you want to add some color, like variation in here. It could be painted in, and of course, it could also be procedurals, and it's just going to be dependent on the UV. So I definitely play around with that. And then the couple things that are coming to mind when I'm seeing this, on the other hand, is the eyes are feeling really flat to me. Like I remember in the test, I believe, but I'm not feeling, I guess maybe from the low res, but also from like this distance. This is why it's always good to test um, your subjects from different distances too, depending on also how they're going to be in the scene. But I always do this test where I'll like make something really small so I can see if there's shaping or there's variation in here. And right now in the eyes and the iris specifically is what I'm talking about. I'm just seeing like just a kind of flat blue. I'd love to see a little bit more of like depth in there, a little bit of darker blue, like hints, just like to give it a little bit more dimension and interest. The eye whites are looking a little white, like even on the more shaded side. So I just make sure you don't have any funny settings there that are making it like really ambient. And other than that, I will say I'm loving her outfit and like the sheen of it. And I started looking at this and I was like, I know this is just the first pass, so I know you have a lot more to go on this, but what makes like this kind of wardrobe so beautiful is the details in it. And I went ahead and because especially what was calling out to me was, the gold to the beautiful red lining here. It's just like the how this is so uniform, and it's almost like it's the same material, which maybe it is the same material, but it would be awesome if this was like a different texture almost, and like it could have the same sheen but just add this variation. And same thing here. And I googled some stuff, and then I pulled up this image here, which I thought really portrayed it nicely, exactly what I was thinking. If we look at her wardrobe, she's got, the same piece of fabric on, but there's so much variation and richness in this fabric, and each section kind of has its own special qualities, and it makes it really stand out and kind of make you go wow. And I would love to see that in here. I think it'd be awesome, and it'd be a great exercise too in materials to kind of play with that texture. And what I'm talking about is like, hey, you have that like intricate, I don't know if it's gonna go any bigger, but like intricate details here in the yellow, like you see the little bumps and the variation that kind of breaks up the sheen. The sheen is there, but it's not perfect. You'll see, like that's what we want to see when we're texturing. Where in comparison, like right now, your sheen is so perfect, and that's why we want to add things like noise or like a slight bump to kind of break it up. And like even here, it's just so perfect. So I know this is a first pass, and I think you had some plans on making some like very intricate shoe designs too, if I remember. And also like just like these are calling out for like embroidery type of like a bump texture going on. So there's so much richness that can come into here, and I definitely want you to push it and try it, because I think it's gonna just like bring out her so much, and all the richness that she could have. And yeah, so I think those are enough notes for the first pass. But again, let me know if you have any questions, and I can't wait to see the next pass. Okay, happy lighting.